You should be a monster. You were never meant to be harmless. You were meant to be powerful. A force of strength and control, not chaos. Being a monster doesn't mean becoming cruel. It means learning to master your darkness so that no one else can use it against you. Too many people think goodness means softness, that kindness means weakness. But the truth is, if your kindness isn't backed by power, it becomes your greatest vulnerability. The world doesn't respect the harmless. It respects those who have teeth, but choose when to bite. You should be dangerous, disciplined, capable, and in control. You should be someone who can stand in your own fire and not be burned by it. Your darkness isn't your enemy. It's your untapped strength waiting to be directed. When you hide it, you become divided within yourself, one part of you kind, the other silent and angry. But when you integrate them, when your light and darkness walk side by side, you become unstoppable. Being a monster means you're no longer afraid of confrontation. You can look at manipulation, injustice, or disrespect and say, "Not today." You protect your peace fiercely. You set boundaries and enforce them with quiet confidence. That's what real power looks like. Calm, measured, but undeniable. Power doesn't corrupt good people. It amplifies their ability to defend what matters. So become someone dangerous, not because you want to harm anyone, but because you want to protect your peace, your purpose, your heart. Let the world feel your calm and your fire, your kindness and your edge, because when you awaken that monster within, that fearless, unshakable version of you, you don't lose your humanity, you find it. You become someone who cannot be broken, someone who cannot be controlled. Be the kind one, be the wise one, but above all, be the one who could be a monster and chooses not to. That's real strength. That's freedom. Power without control is destruction. Control without power is weakness. You were not born to be harmless. You were born with strength, fire, and the ability to fight for what matters. But somewhere along the way, society told you to suppress it, to be agreeable, quiet, and soft. They told you that being kind means never standing up for yourself. They taught you to fear your own power, to bury your anger, to silence your instincts. And that is why so many people today feel powerless, because they've mistaken weakness for virtue. True strength is not about being loud or violent. It's about mastering your power so deeply that you no longer need to prove it. Power without control is destruction. It burns everything around you, including yourself. But control without power is weakness. It leaves you defenseless in a world that only respects strength. The key is balance. To be powerful enough to protect your peace and disciplined enough to never abuse it. When you learn to control your inner power, you stop reacting and start responding. You no longer let anger dictate your actions. You let awareness guide them. You become calm, not because you're weak, but because you've mastered your fire. The one who can stay silent when provoked, the one who can walk away instead of fighting unnecessarily. That's the one who holds true dominance. Your composure becomes your weapon. Your silence becomes your boundary. You don't need to shout to be heard, because your energy speaks louder than any words. When you know your power, you stop chasing validation. You stop needing to prove your worth. You realize that control over yourself is greater than control over others. That is real strength, quiet, steady, and unshakable. People who have no power fear confrontation. They avoid it, they compromise too much. They allow others to disrespect them because they're afraid to lose love, approval, or acceptance. But power changes that. When you are strong, you can face conflict without losing yourself. You can say no without guilt. You can stand alone without fear. And when you add control to that power, you become dangerous. Not in a violent way, but in a grounded way. You become someone no one can manipulate, someone who doesn't need permission to exist fully. You walk into a room, and people feel it, not because you're arrogant, but because you're centered. You're no longer seeking attention, you're commanding respect. Understand this: your inner fire is not your enemy, it's your protector. The problem isn't your anger or your strength, it's your relationship with them. Most people either suppress their fire or let it burn uncontrolled. But the wise person learns to hold it in their hands without being consumed. When you own your fire, it becomes your focus, your clarity, your shield. That's the difference between chaos and power, direction. When you aim your strength at something meaningful, it becomes purpose. When you let it spill out of insecurity, it becomes destruction. That's why control matters. Power alone can destroy you, but controlled power will build you into someone unstoppable. When life challenges you, when people push your buttons, when circumstances test your limits, that's when you see who truly has control. The one who can stay composed in the middle of chaos holds the highest level of strength. Anyone can fight when angry, few can stay calm and win. The storm outside doesn't matter when you've mastered the storm within. That's what makes powerful people rare. They've learned that emotional control is not repression, it's direction. They don't deny their emotions, they channel them into purpose. They don't waste energy proving their worth, they use that energy to evolve. Being powerful and controlled means you can be kind without being a pushover. You can forgive without being naive. You can love deeply without losing yourself. People often think strength and softness can't coexist, but they can. And that's what makes you magnetic. The combination of calmness and capability creates an aura that demands respect. You don't need to tell people you're strong. They feel it in the way you carry yourself, in the way you don't react, in the way you don't explain yourself to those who misunderstand you. That's the quiet confidence of someone who has learned control. So, train your power. Build your strength, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Learn to control your thoughts, your reactions, and your energy. Don't let the world provoke you into becoming something small. Don't let your emotions rule your choices. The moment you gain control over yourself, no one else can control you. And the moment you realize how strong you are, you stop chasing what doesn't deserve you. You start walking differently, with calmness, with certainty, with grace. That's the beauty of having both power and control. You become a force that doesn't destroy but protects, that doesn't dominate but leads. Remember, power without control will burn your life down, but control without power will keep you chained. You were not meant to live in either extreme. You were meant to rise, strong, disciplined, balanced. The world doesn't need more harmless people. It needs people who are capable of harm but choose peace. It needs people who can stand in their strength and still be gentle. Be that person, powerful yet peaceful, firm yet kind, dangerous yet disciplined. Because when you learn to control your power, you don't just change your life. You command it. You don't chase peace anymore. You become it. The world respects what it fears. The truth is hard, but it's real. The world does not respect weakness. It does not bow to softness or innocence. It listens to those who carry strength, not only in their words but in their energy. The world respects what it fears, not the kind of fear that comes from intimidation or cruelty, but the fear that arises from recognizing true power. When people sense that you can't be easily broken, manipulated, or controlled, they treat you differently. They calculate their words. They respect your space. They think twice before crossing your boundaries. And that is the energy you must learn to embody: calm, confident, and quietly dangerous. Not dangerous because you harm others, but because you have the strength to protect yourself without apology. For too long, you may have been told that being nice would earn you respect, that if you were understanding, patient, and forgiving, people would value you. But you've seen what really happens. The kinder you are without boundaries, the more people take advantage of you. The more you give, the more they demand. You end up drained, resentful, and invisible. The harsh truth is that people don't value what they don't fear losing. They only respect what stands firm, what refuses to bend for their comfort. That's why it's not enough to be kind. You must also be powerful. Kindness without power is submission. But when kindness is backed by power, it becomes strength. The world admires that balance, the ability to stay compassionate while never allowing yourself to be disrespected. When you walk in strength, people feel it before you speak. It's not about arrogance or dominance, it's about presence. It's the way you carry yourself, the way you say no without guilt, the way you maintain your peace, even when others try to provoke you. That quiet confidence is magnetic because it communicates something rare: control. People are instinctively drawn to those who have mastered themselves, because self-mastery is a power most never reach. When you know who you are and what you stand for, you become untouchable. No manipulation works on you, no gossip shakes you, no insult lowers you. You stop reacting to everything that doesn't deserve your energy, and when the world sees that you cannot be moved easily, it starts to move around you. To be respected, you must first respect yourself enough to stop tolerating nonsense. Stop explaining your worth to people who can't see it. Stop begging for basic decency. The world mirrors the standards you set for yourself. If you let people disrespect you and still show up for them, they'll believe they can continue doing so. But when you enforce your boundaries with calm firmness, not anger, not aggression, just certainty, everything shifts. That's when they realize you're not afraid of losing anyone. You're not desperate for approval. You're not begging to be seen. You're standing on solid ground, knowing that your peace is more valuable than their validation. That's when respect is earned, when you no longer need it from anyone but yourself. Strength doesn't mean becoming cold or ruthless. It means becoming clear. It means knowing when to give love and when to walk away. The world respects clarity because it fears indecision. People can manipulate confusion, but they can't manipulate conviction. When you know your limits, your values, and your purpose, no one can twist your emotions to control you. You stop playing small for the comfort of others. You stop letting guilt dictate your choices. You stop shrinking just to keep the peace. Instead, you embody peace through power, the kind of peace that comes from knowing you can handle whatever comes your way. That kind of energy silences manipulation, because manipulators thrive only on the weak. When they sense you're unshakable, they disappear. The world doesn't respect words, it respects energy. You can say all the right things, but if your energy screams fear, people will sense it. You can talk about boundaries, but if you never enforce them, they mean nothing. Power is not in your tone, it's in your consistency. When you say no and mean it. When you walk away without looking back. When you let silence speak louder than confrontation. That's when people realize you're not someone to play with. Not because you're cruel, but because you're conscious. Conscious of your worth, your limits, and your peace. You don't fight for attention anymore, you move in purpose. That shift changes how everyone interacts with you. The truth is, fear and respect are deeply connected. People respect those they fear disappointing. They respect those who carry strength with grace. They respect those who can stay kind but never knave. When you learn to balance empathy with boundaries, heart with spine, you become someone unforgettable. You don't have to raise your voice, your presence speaks for you. The world looks at you and senses something powerful. The energy of someone who's been through storms and learned not just to survive them, but to command them. That's when you stop chasing respect, because it naturally follows strength. So don't aim to be liked, aim to be respected. Don't aim to be understood by everyone. Aim to be unshakable within yourself. When you stop living for others' approval and start standing in your own power, you become a different breed. You don't chase, you attract. You don't react, you decide. You don't beg, you choose. And when you move like that, calm, confident, and self-contained, the world responds. Because deep down, everyone respects what they can't control, what they can't break, what they can't define. Become that. Become the person the world respects, not because it fears your wrath, but because it fears your strength, your silence, and your certainty. The world respects what it fears, so become someone worth respecting. Darkness is not your enemy. It's your untapped power. Inside every person, there is a light and a darkness. Two forces constantly trying to coexist. Most people spend their lives running from their darkness, pretending it doesn't exist, suppressing the parts of themselves that feel angry, hurt, or powerful. Society tells you to be calm, polite, and agreeable. It praises the light, the kindness, the humility, the patience, and condemns the darkness, labeling it as bad, arrogant, or dangerous. But what if that darkness isn't your enemy? What if the part of you that's fierce, bold, and unapologetic is the very thing meant to protect you? The truth is, your darkness is not here to destroy you, it's here to defend you. It's your untapped power, the side of you that refuses to be walked on, that sets boundaries, that says, no, with strength instead of apology. When you reject that side, you weaken yourself, you become incomplete. But when you learn to integrate it, to balance your light with your darkness, you become unstoppable. There's a reason the most peaceful people are often the most dangerous ones. They've met their darkness. They've faced their inner storms and learned how to control them. They don't act from pain. They act with awareness. They don't deny their anger. They understand it. They know their triggers, their limits, and their power. That's the difference between chaos and mastery. Chaos is when your darkness controls you. Mastery is when you control it. And that's what true evolution looks like, not eliminating your dark side, but teaching it discipline, giving it purpose, and turning it into strength. The moment you stop fearing your inner darkness, you start to understand how powerful you truly are. Your darkness holds your courage, your passion, your resilience. It's the voice that says, "Enough," when people mistreat you. It's the energy that rises when you're cornered, the power that pushes you forward when you're ready to give up. But most people silence that voice because it makes them uncomfortable. They associate strength with aggression and passion with danger. But denying your power doesn't make you safe. It makes you vulnerable. When you refuse to acknowledge your darker side, others will sense that weakness and take advantage of it. That's why your light needs your darkness. Compassion without strength becomes submission. Kindness without boundaries becomes self-destruction. Love without self-respect becomes captivity. You need your shadow to balance your light. The darkness in you is the protector of your peace. It's the guardian that steps forward when your kindness is taken for granted. It's the part of you that refuses to tolerate disrespect. Think about it. Every time you stood up for yourself, every time you decided to walk away, every time you said, "I'm done," that was your darkness saving you. That was your inner power saying, "No more." Without it, you'd stay stuck in cycles of pain, pleasing people who don't deserve your loyalty. But when you embrace it, you evolve from being the victim to becoming the warrior. You stop asking, "Why did they do this to me?" and start saying, "I won't let it happen again." That's the power of integration. When your shadow and your light start working together, instead of fighting each other. Embracing your darkness doesn't mean becoming bitter or cruel. It means becoming aware. It means understanding that your anger has wisdom, your pain has lessons, and your fear has depth. It means realizing that the parts of you you've been taught to suppress, your ambition, your assertiveness, your fire, are not flaws. They're the qualities that will help you rise. You just have to train them, not eliminate them. When you own your darkness, you no longer project it onto others. You stop blaming people for your pain because you've taken responsibility for your inner world. You stop fearing failure because you've faced it before. You stop fearing loss because you know you can rebuild. That's real strength. The kind that comes from knowing your darkness intimately and not letting it consume you. The world tries to make you feel guilty for being strong. It tells you that confidence is arrogance, that boundaries are selfish, that speaking your truth is too much. But that's because most people fear what they can't control. And they can't control someone who's made peace with their shadow. When you accept your darkness, you become unpredictable in the best way. You're no longer afraid to walk away, to disappoint people, to be misunderstood. You stop living for approval. You stop apologizing for your intensity. You realize that your energy isn't too much. It's just not for those who can't handle power wrapped in kindness. And that's okay. You're not here to be liked by everyone. You're here to live fully, to stand in your truth without shame. The most powerful people you'll ever meet aren't the ones who shine the brightest. They're the ones who've walked through their own shadows and emerged balanced. They've faced betrayal, rejection, and pain, and instead of letting it harden them, they used it to strengthen their character. They've learned that you can't truly embody light without first understanding darkness. Because light that's never been tested isn't wisdom, it's innocence. But light that has walked through the dark and still chooses to shine, that's power, that's presence, that's peace. So stop hiding from your dark side. Stop being afraid of your anger, your ambition, your boldness. They are not your enemies, they are your armor. When you integrate them, you become whole, not perfect, but powerful. You stop being a victim of your emotions and start being the master of them. You learn that balance isn't about being soft all the time. It's about knowing when to be firm. It's about knowing when to let go and when to fight, when to forgive and when to protect yourself. That's emotional intelligence. That's maturity. That's true strength. Your darkness is not something to be fixed. It's something to be understood. It's the part of you that holds the deepest truths about who you are and what you're capable of. So stop running from it. Sit with it. Listen to it. Heal it. And then rise with it. Because when your light and your darkness finally walk side by side, you don't just become balanced, you become free. Being dangerous is a responsibility, not a threat to be truly strong. You must be capable of danger, but wise enough to control it. Being dangerous is not about destruction, it's about discipline. It's not about being feared, it's about being respected. The person who is harmless can never be truly good, because goodness without strength is helplessness. A good person who can't protect themselves or others when needed is not virtuous, they're vulnerable. True virtue, real strength, is found in the balance between capability and restraint. It's the ability to be powerful and gentle at the same time, to have the potential to destroy, yet choose to build, to have the fire, but also the wisdom to know when to let it burn and when to let it warm. Being dangerous is not a curse. It's a responsibility. It's about mastering the energy that could hurt and using it to heal, protect, and defend what matters most. When you become dangerous, you stop being easily controlled. You stop being manipulated by guilt, fear, or pressure. You develop a quiet authority that others sense immediately, not because you're loud or intimidating, but because you're grounded. You're not a threat to others, but you're a warning that you are no longer to be underestimated or disrespected. This is what true confidence looks like. Not arrogance, but certainty. You know your limits, your worth, and your strength. You're no longer seeking validation because you understand something most people never realize. Peace without power is fragile. If you don't have the power to protect your peace, someone will always come along to steal it. So being dangerous becomes your shield, your protection, your freedom. A person who is capable of harm but chooses peace is far more trustworthy than someone who claims they would never harm anyone. The first understands the weight of strength, the second understands only fear. The world is not kind to those who cannot defend themselves. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually, or physically, life will test you. People will test you, and if you're not equipped to handle it, your goodness will be devoured by the cruelty of others. That's why being dangerous matters. Because it's not about wanting to fight, it's about being ready if you must. It's the same way a lion doesn't roar unless provoked. Its silence doesn't mean weakness, it means awareness. And when it acts with purpose. That's how your power should be. Controlled, intentional, and directed only when necessary. The world needs strong, disciplined people. People who can stay calm under pressure. People who can defend their values and loved ones when the moment comes. People who can say no firmly and walk away with grace. Being dangerous doesn't mean losing your humanity, it means strengthening it. It means becoming the type of person who can face chaos and not crumble. You learn to stay composed in conflict, to think before reacting, to respond with clarity instead of emotion. That's how you win battles, not through rage, but through control. The dangerous person is not violent or cruel. They are unshakable. They are the stillness in the storm, the one who remains composed while others panic. That's why their presence commands respect. When you reach that level of discipline, people feel your energy. They sense the strength behind your calm. You don't have to prove anything because your silence already says everything. I could, but I won't. That's the energy of power under control. And it's magnetic. You can walk into any room and shift the atmosphere just by being there. Because people can tell the difference between someone who's pretending to be strong and someone who's mastered their strength. The latter moves differently, slower, calmer, wiser. They don't seek confrontation, but they don't run from it either. They don't raise their voice because their presence is louder than any noise. Being dangerous is a responsibility because it requires self-awareness. If you can't control your emotions, your words, or your impulses, your power will turn destructive. But when you become a protector, not only for yourself, but for others. You become the person people look to when everything falls apart. Because they know you don't break easily. You've trained your mind to stay sharp, your heart to stay steady, and your energy to stay pure. That kind of discipline creates safety, not fear. It makes people feel secure around you because they know your power is guided by integrity. You don't use your strength to dominate. You use it to uplift, to defend, to maintain balance. This kind of danger doesn't come from aggression. It comes from evolution. You become dangerous when you stop reacting to everything that tries to pull you down. You become dangerous when you stop explaining your worth. You become dangerous when you stop being controlled by your emotions, your fears, or your past. You become dangerous when you can walk away from what no longer serves you, not out of anger, but out of self-respect. Because when you have that kind of emotional discipline, no one can manipulate you anymore. They can try, but you're too aware. They can lie, but you see through it. They can provoke, but you won't take the bait. That's real power, quiet, patient, and untouchable. So, train yourself to be dangerous, not for violence, but for peace. Build your mind so strong that no one's opinion can shake it. Build your heart so secure that no betrayal can destroy it. Build your spirit so steady that no loss can break it. And when you do, you'll walk differently. You'll speak differently. You'll live differently. You'll carry yourself with a kind of certainty that doesn't come from ego, but from knowing you've faced your demons and mastered them. Being dangerous is not something to fear. It's something to earn. It's a badge of self-mastery, forged through pain, discipline, and awareness. It's knowing that your power could cause harm, but choosing instead to protect, to lead, to heal. Because the strongest people aren't those who fight every battle. They're the ones who know when not to. They're the ones who know that peace is not found in weakness, but in controlled strength. So become that kind of dangerous, the kind that brings calm where others bring chaos. The kind that stands tall not to intimidate, but to inspire. The kind that can fight, but doesn't need to. Because when you master your power, you don't need to prove it. You simply live it. The monster is the guardian of your freedom. Most people think being kind, loving, and peaceful is enough to live freely. But the truth is it isn't. Kindness without strength turns into a trap. Love without power turns into dependence. Peace without protection turns into vulnerability. You can have the purest heart in the world, but if you don't have the strength to guard it, the world will take it from you. That's why you need to awaken the monster within. Not to harm, not to destroy, but to protect. The monster inside you is not evil. It is your guardian. It is the version of you that refuses to be walked over, that stands up when others try to silence you. That says, "Enough," when people mistake your compassion for weakness. Without that side, your freedom will always belong to someone else. The monster within you is not the enemy. It's the one who saves you when your light is about to burn out. It's the voice that says, "No more," after years of being disrespected. It's the fire that rises when you've been silent for too long. It's the shield that appears when you finally realize that peace isn't given. It's protected. People will tell you to stay calm, to forgive endlessly, to be the bigger person, and while forgiveness is noble, endless tolerance is not. Sometimes peace requires confrontation. Sometimes love demands boundaries. Sometimes being the bigger person means walking away instead of staying silent. The monster is not your darkness, it's your balance. It's what keeps you from being consumed by other people's chaos. Freedom begins when you stop being afraid of your strength, when you stop apologizing for saying no, when you stop feeling guilty for defending your space, your time, your energy. The monster gives you that power. It doesn't care about people pleasing. It doesn't crave approval. It's not desperate for validation. It knows who you are and what you stand for. That's why people fear those who've embraced their monster. Because they can't be controlled anymore. When you awaken that part of yourself, manipulation stops working. Guilt no longer chains you. You stop chasing people who treat you like an option. You stop justifying why you deserve respect. You simply demand it, not with words, but with presence. Your energy becomes your protection, and your silence becomes your statement. The monster in you is disciplined. It's not loud, it's not reckless, it's focused. It knows when to attack and when to wait. It doesn't fight every battle, but when it does, it wins. That's the kind of power that makes you free. Because freedom isn't the absence of struggle, it's the ability to face it without losing yourself. When you learn to control that energy, you stop living in fear. You no longer walk on eggshells around people who might disapprove. You no longer hide your opinions to keep the peace. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You realize that your life is yours to live, not theirs to dictate. And that realization alone is liberation, the kind that no one can take from you. The monster isn't about aggression, it's about protection. It's about standing guard over your peace like it's sacred. Because it is. You've spent too many years giving your light to people who only came to dim it. You've been drained by relationships, workplaces, and situations that took advantage of your empathy. But now you understand. Compassion without boundaries destroys you. Love without limits enslaves you. The monster within you draws the line. It's the part of you that finally says, I choose me. It's the part that refuses to keep giving to those who never give back. It's the part that walks away from everything that costs your inner peace. And when that monster awakens, you stop living for survival and start living in power. Being free doesn't mean escaping challenges. It means mastering yourself so deeply that no challenge can break you. It means no one's opinion controls your confidence. No rejection defines your worth. No betrayal poisons your love. The monster gives you that unshakable center. The grounded strength that allows you to face the worst and still rise. It turns pain into clarity, heartbreak into focus, and loneliness into peace. That's the gift of awakening your inner protector. It's not about becoming hard, it's about becoming whole. You merge your softness with your strength, your compassion with your courage, your love with your limits. That balance is what real freedom feels like, not chaos, not rage, but calm power. People will misunderstand your transformation. They'll call you changed, cold, or different. But they won't realize that you're not cold. You're clear. You're not harsh. You're healed. You've simply stopped tolerating what breaks you. And that's something only those who've met their monster understand. The moment you meet your inner power, you stop needing to explain your boundaries. You stop over-explaining your worth. You stop fearing loneliness because you've learned to stand tall in solitude. The monster teaches you that peace isn't found in pleasing everyone. It's found in pleasing your soul. So, don't fear the monster inside you. Train it, shape it, teach it discipline. Let it guard your heart, not harden it. Let it protect your light, not extinguish it. Because the truth is, without that strength, your light will always be in danger. Every kind heart needs a warrior inside it. Every gentle soul needs a protector. You cannot be free until you are strong enough to defend your freedom. That's why your monster exists. Not to make you cruel, but to make you whole. When your light and your monster walk together, you become unstoppable. You become the kind of person who can love deeply and still walk away when disrespected, who can stay calm while being tested, who can be gentle, but never weak. That's what real freedom is. Power with peace, danger with discipline, strength with soul. The monster isn't here to destroy you, it's here to liberate you. It's not your curse. It's your crown. And once you wear it, nothing and no one will ever control you again.